What's going on, guys? Man, I'm really excited. We finally got this thing off the ground. The first podcast we're going to do, Michael Sartain podcast, right here at Sticky Paw Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I've got my first two incredible guests. First off, my name is Michael Sartain, Captain U.S. Air Force, retired. And I wanted to start a podcast for intellectual curiosity. So to kind of show the ethos of what I was trying to do, I have an F-18 pilot and a Playmate on here. That is kind of the spectrum that I was looking for. So our first guest here, he is a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy Reserve, former U.S. Marine Corps. He is an F-18 instructor pilot. He is Lieutenant Adam Butel. Hey, what's going on, Adam?
What's going on, Michael? Thanks for having me.
And your call sign is a pouty face?
It's pronounced pouty face.
Can you pull that up again, Travis? His call sign is a pouty face. Explain that to me.
That happens when you break the sound barrier in Thailand and allegedly collapse a school full of children that were crying. But turns out it was just the Thai government trying to extort money out of the U.S. government. So,
okay, let's get back to breaking the sound barrier here in just 1 second. And then our other guest is former Playboy cyber girl. And if there was a Hall of Fame for cocktail servers in Las Vegas, she is first ballot Hall of Fame unanimous entry. This is Miss Jessie Preston. What's going on, Jessie?
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? She's got money. She's got the little money pendant.
I'm so excited to pop your cherry. I'm one of your first.
Of course.
With you, there's not many left. But I am one of your first guests on your podcast. It's so exciting.
What is that joke? What do you mean?
What?
My first, what do you mean?
Because you've been around the block for a lot of things.
Okay. All right.
You've done a lot.
All right, here we go. So you kind of see what we're doing here. Adam, real quick. So let's talk about this. I wanted to have this show, again, be about intellectual curiosity. That's why I had you two guys on here, both very extroverted, very intelligent people, but from different walks of life. In your situation, obviously, you're a technician. You fly F-18. You are an officer in the U.S. military. I was an officer in the U.S. military. We have a lot of similar stories. Jessie and I have been friends here in Las Vegas for the last 10 years. Jessie understands the chaos that is created from social media, from dating, from all the attention that you get from this. And we have a common human experience that I kind of wanted to bring to this whole thing. First off, let's get back to the story you just said. You broke the sound barrier over where?
Over Thailand.
Over Thailand. So sound barrier at 759. What is the sound barrier?
Depends on the altitude, but anywhere from 607 nautical miles an hour, 600, 700.
Yeah, 600, and it goes down the higher you go up, correct?
It goes higher.
It goes higher.
You go. The lower in altitude you go, the higher it goes.
Correct. So as you go up higher, the sound barrier to break it the number gets lower and lower.
The speed relative to the air is still the same, but as you go higher, you're going faster over the ground because the air is thinner.
Your true airspeed, right? Correct. Or your indicated airspeed. I forgot.
Same thing.
There you go. Okay, I forgot.
Without getting into details. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at Jessie. Do you know what it means to break the sound barrier?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, seriously.
No.
Okay, so sound at sea level travels what is it, 659, something like that?
Somewhere around there, yeah. Depending on the temperature.
659 miles an hour. That's how fast sound travels. For those of you who are wondering, light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second or 186,282 miles per second. Light travels about 660 miles an hour. You with me? Okay. Sound travels about 660 miles an hour. You can get a jet to fly faster than that. Then what happens is the sound in front of the jet, the sound to the sides of the jet, the sound immediately leaving the jet all collapse onto each other. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Imagine you're moving so fast while you're talking that your voice cannot even exceed the speed that your voice is leaving. It can't exceed your own speed limit. There's a point to where the sounds in front of you go through you, and now all the sound from the front, back, and the side collapse into one bang. So sonic boom. That's what a sonic boom is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it's not a continuous boom. Once you exceed the sound barrier, it doesn't keep going boom, boom, boom. It's the sound. The boom happens because all the sound waves collapse on each other. Does that make sense? That sound accurate?
I mean, a way to think of it too is if you ever hear a fire truck drive past you, it's a higher pitch when it's approaching and then lower pitch when it leaves because it's different compression. But once you hit Mach 1, it's all at the same spot, and that's what causes the boom to where you're breaking windows, shattering structures, and so it's kind of a bad thing to do on accident. So
now we're taking an airplane going 660 miles an hour or 660 knots, and now all the sound is collapsed on itself, and it creates a boom, and it's a boom enough to set off car alarms and break glass. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So in certain military engagements, we used it as a intimidation tactic, right?
Yeah, show force. If you're out of weapons or anything, but you're trying to at least scare the bad guys on the ground, they'll ask for a show of force to at least deter them, get their heads to go down. And so we'll use that for intimidation a lot.
And you do that to little kids?
And in this case, allegedly, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oops.
There are two places in North America you can break the sound barrier. I believe one of them is Robins Air Force Base in Georgia, and the other one is Edwards. Is that correct?
Yeah, and they'll have different rules too. If you're above a certain altitude, straight level, the boom isn't really going to hit the ground. But if you are at lower altitudes, like essentially the higher you go, the more you can be pointed towards the ground. It's not going to be a factor. But if you're at low altitude, either don't break it or at least be pointed upwards so the boom travels up or level.
Well, before we even continue, thank you both for your service.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank
you
you
for your
guys,
support.
like legit.
Jesse, so he's an F-18 fighter pilot. Do you know what a F-18 is? No. Okay. Could you describe that?
Are you familiar with the Blue Angels?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they fly the F-18, well, Hornet, and now they're going to fly the Super Hornet, which is what I'm now an instructor in on the East Coast. So we take brand new student pilots out of flight school that have, passed all the tests, not washed out and everything, and we're like, okay, these are the ones we're going to put all of our eggs in one basket, and we train them on the F-18, both for air-to-air engagements and air-to-surface support. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's really cool. Do you get like in girls' pants all the time by saying that?
So, yes.
Cannot confirm or deny.
Cannot confirm nor
Okay.
deny.
Okay.
You'll probably hear that a few times this podcast.
Yes.
I wonder how many times you just tell a girl like, "This is what I do," and they're like,
Would you? Is that an impressive
little bit.
an impressive career
"A little
path
bit."
to be an
I'm
F-18
like,
fighter
listen to
pilot?
them talking, just
A,
like,
a real how many real fighter pilots
Talk
have you
more
met in your
nerdy to
life?
me.
Just out of curiosity. That's exactly right.
One.
It's exactly right. There's two that live on my floor at Panorama. It's crazy. So now, Jesse, let's go to you. In your situation, you moved to Vegas when?
2008.
The modeling thing. When did you start that?
Oh, I was probably 2005 or 2006. Like right when I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Is when I just started picking up modeling gigs in Miami.
And do you shot for Playboy?
Yes.
And can you describe that whole situation? How did that start? Where did that go to?
Oh, so I was dating a guy, and his roommate was a Playmate, and she kept saying, "You should do it. You should do it. I think they would love you." So she called her boss and sent like my MySpace. Imagine how long ago this was. This is MySpace days.
That's going back.
Sent my MySpace page to him, and then he reached out to me, and I had just started. I had broken up with the guy that I was talking about at the time.
Yes, that's generally okay. Hold on, just real quick. Generally, that's the story right before the Playboy centerfold. I just broke up with the guy, and then he'd been asking and asking and asking and asking, and I kept saying no, and then I broke up with the guy, and then I posed. That's I've heard this story a few times. Keep going.
Mine is slightly different. So
Okay.
the guy that I was dating at the time, his roommate, that guy, I broke up with him. I started dating a new guy who ended up being my husband. But while I was dating him is when the guy from Playboy reached out to me, and he was like, "I think you'd be perfect for this. It's going to go out in 7 different magazines. There's 5 or 6 different looks, whatever. I was like, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." I come from a very religious household. My parents are Jehovah's Witness. So like it would have been like huge for me to do something like that. And I said no. My ex-husband was like, "You should think about it." I was like, "No." I said no 3 different times. On the 4th time, I got the call while I was at his parents' house, and his mom was like, "You know that on his 13th birthday, I got him subscription to Playboy.
Wow.
Like, this is like a lifelong dream. This is an honor. You should do it."
It's
so I've got my husband.
The universe manifesting this.
I've got
for
my
her.
husband and my husband's mom both telling me that I have to do it. And I was like, okay, fine. So I accept it, and I did it. And I mean, when I first got there, I was so beyond nervous. I'd never been
Got
naked.
where?
When I got to the studio where we
Okay.
were doing the shoot
Got
for
it.
Playboy.
Were you in Burbank at the Playboy Plus
No,
studios?
this
Where was this?
in Miami.
Oh, in Miami.
We
okay.
shot in Miami.
Okay.
Yeah. When I got there, I was super nervous, and then the photographer just walks over to me and hands me a phone. I was like, I don't know whose phone this is. I don't know who's on the phone. And he's like, "Hello?" There. Puts the phone to my head, and I'm like, "Yeah, hello. It's Hef."
It's Hugh Hefner.
He's like, "I saw your MySpace page. You are beautiful. You've got this in the bag. Go kill him." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
And that was just like that little encouragement. And I did the damn thing. Then they had to tell me to put my clothes on. I was like dancing, and they're like, "It's lunch break," and I'm still naked. And they're like, "Put clothes on." I'm like, "No, I'm good." And then it took me like a little while, and I finally put clothes on. But it was an experience. I don't want to say that it was a negative one. It was definitely something completely different than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The pay was not good.
Right.
But they said that the exposure and the publicity that I would get from it would equate to more than I ever would have gotten from them, like,
Yeah.
in that moment. So I accept it. But I felt like everything that I spent just to get ready for the shoot,
Right.
like the tanning, the hair, I got my hair highlighted and extensions and all this stuff done. And it was all just like, as soon as I got my paycheck after taxes, I was like, oh, man. But It was definitely an experience. There were some slight snafus that came along the way because I posed for Playboy. I would want to model for a company, and then they'd be like, "Sorry, you basically did softcore porn." That's what
Do you
Playboy's
feel
considered.
that's an issue now?
No, I feel like
I think
everybody
it's not
has
an
an
issue at all.
OnlyFans or has done something nude for nothing.
I feel like Adam could pose nude, and his
Yeah.
commander, his CO, wouldn't give a shit.
With all the dick pics flying around, with everyone nude, like celebrities have their sex tapes leaked. Like now it's trendy. It's not something bad anymore.
Right.
Kim Kardashian got famous off of her sex tape. Like that's not something that deters people anymore, I think.
Yeah, I think that is kind of lost on us, right? That what did we see first? We saw Paris Hilton with a sex tape, and we believed it was an accident, right? Some people actually still believe that was
Preston,
an
I
accident,
believe
right?
that.
Okay.
Was Pamela Anderson and Tommy's first?
Pamela Anderson and Tommy, theirs obviously was first before that. So the idea was there. It made them more famous. A lot of people who do not listen to Tommy Lee's music have seen that sex tape. Then we saw the one with Paris Hilton. And then ironically, you guys are never going to believe this, Paris Hilton's personal assistant, her name was Kim Kardashian, accidentally released a sex tape. And, obviously it's a complete accident, totally random that happened. And then she became famous. And so we see that, and it happens the other, was the Jay Alvarez? Is that the guy who just recently did it? It was a TikToker who released a sex tape of him doing with the hot coconut oil. You know what I'm talking about? Google this. Somebody Google this.
I don't know what he's talking about. Do you know what he's talking about?
Shout out to Candace Harbin and Andy Candy. That was the one who told me about it. All right. But the point is, now let me ask you a question. You went to the Playboy Mansion after that, right?
Yeah.
Could you describe that experience?
It wasn't the dream party that I would have wanted to go to. It wasn't like a Midsummer's Dream party. It was like a charity event on an off day.
So you've never been to Midsummer Night's Dream?
No.
Okay.
But it was still a really cool experience. It was just different than what I had seen online and what I thought that it was going to be. But it was still really cool. And there was this one, I don't even know if he's still alive. He was really old back then. This one magician that's always there apparently at all the parties. And he was creepy. No matter what, if I was walking through the crowd, he would just find a way to just grab my wrist and he wouldn't let me go. It's like, I don't know if I want to come back. He was so creepy.
There's a point to all this. What's the two-seater F-18?
The Foxtrot for the Super Hornet.
Okay, the Foxtrot Super Hornet. Would you want to ride in an F-18?
Sure.
Would you want to go to the Playboy Mansion?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is the point. This is kind of the point of the show is that I wanted to get. Is that what common human experience? Okay. Does it make sense? I would vomit like a motherfucker in the Foxtrot. I have no doubt whatsoever. Because I flew a KC-135. I was a navigator, and I threw up all the time. It was not my main thing. I remember soloing in a Piper Warrior, right? And then a Cessna 172, and I would just be like, well, I was good at it. I just didn't enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? But like that would be an incredible experience. And like in this situation, I've been to the Playboy Mansion. I worked once, and then I was invited twice by Crystal Hefner, Hugh Hefner's wife. At the time, I guess when you met Hugh Hefner, he was probably before Holly.
Before all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Crystal's a sweet girl. She's going to be doing some parties here coming up in soon. The Playboy Mansion is now gone. It's not the Playboy Mansion anymore. It was bought by a different individual. They're going to remodel it. They're going to start doing parties there again, but it won't be under Playboy. It won't be under the Playboy name anymore. In your situation, so when I was in the U.S. military, we had the briefings about things we could talk about and not talk about, right? And you're still reservist, right? So there's certain things I can talk about them. Like I can express my political opinion now because I'm retired. You can't, right? Nope. Can you talk about right now? So here's the funny thing: when we go in and we swear, right? We swear in our oath of office. We swear to serve and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But some of those constitutional amendments do not apply to us while we're in the U.S. military.
Nope,
right?
you sign those away.
You sign those away. So illegal search and seizure. Nope. If we're on base, the MPs can come in there and take whatever they want, and our First Amendment rights are hindered a little bit. I'm not complaining, by the way. You love the U.S. Air Force. One of the greatest decisions I ever made in my life. Can you talk a little bit about that? What changes while you're in the service?
It's just making a mental shift from here are all the things that I'm supposed to protect, but you don't feel like you're being afforded the same thing. But once you get a peek behind the curtain, you realize it's all for good reason, good military order and discipline. That's just kind of the discipline it takes in order to have a combat effective fighting unit. So there's some trade-offs, but for the military side, it definitely benefits the unit and the force as a whole. So
let me ask you something. You've seen the Leviathan that is the U.S. military and the U.S. government, right? When you see that, does it make you more or less likely to believe in some of the conspiracy theories that you've heard?
I will say that there are some things that I've had thoughts on in the past, but once you start getting read into some of the classified briefings, you realize just how much you don't know. So anytime you have a opinion on one conspiracy or the other, you're kind of like trying to write a book review on a book that you haven't really read.
Right.
So it makes you, really takes off your blinders, try to have an open mind about everything. I mean, because you just don't know. I mean, like Barack Obama, ran on closing Gitmo, and then I don't see that he ever closed Gitmo because he got sworn into presidency. You got to peek behind the curtain.
I was checking Google Maps. You know what I noticed? Gitmo. It's still there.
Still there.
Didn't go anywhere. Exactly. It's really interesting. I remember the things we were allowed to talk about and the things that we're not allowed to talk about again when I was in the military. And it's very interesting that those things happened when we transitioned from Bush to Obama, and that happened like while I was an officer. And I remember the day in every federal building they put Barack Obama's picture, President Obama's pictures up there. And then I remember when they changed when I go to the VA hospital, and one day I go there and it's Barack Obama and this is Donald Trump. They put his picture up there, and it's the first day you see it is kind of shocking, right? It's that change that happens. Let me ask you something. So a good friend of mine, and I'll go ahead and say her name because I love her. She's a very progressive political figure, but Emily Sears. She told me a story one time where her as a model, there were certain things politically that she couldn't say. Like, for instance, she was at a BLM protest one time, and she was kind of worried about the way that would affect her. Have you ever had that feeling, or was modeling not that big of a deal to you?
It's always been a big deal to me, but I've never been contracted or had a management company. I've always managed my own modeling. Yeah. So like with Playboy, there were certain things that I was contracted for. I wasn't allowed to change my appearance while I was posing for the magazine without approval. Same thing with the nightclub, though. When I got hired at Excess, it's the same thing.
I'm going to get to that second because this is the other thing I want to talk about. You two also have something else in common. Let me ask you something. Do you think it's harder to get into Harvard or to get hired at Access or to become an F-18 pilot? What do you think statistically is more likely for you to get into Harvard or do you become a cocktail server at one of the top tier pools in the world or top tier nightclubs in the world or become a U.S. military officer? What do you think is more difficult?
The latter by a long shot.
It's not even close. Getting into Harvard, it is easier to get into Harvard than just to become an Air Force officer. It is extremely, when you think about in the situation with him, he's a fighter pilot. We're talking how many fighter pilots do you think that you in the entire inventory right now?
Oh, I couldn't even. The Navy alone, maybe like 400.
400 fighter pilots in the entire. Yes, a little scary, isn't it? But we have Predators now, so don't worry about it. That's crazy when you think about the percentage of the population that was in the U.S. military during World War II and the percentage of our GDP. I think over 15% of the nation's GDP went just to military spending, whereas now it's not even 1%. Right? An incredible job. Can you talk about? And I've talked about this before. How difficult it was for you to get hired at any one of these nightclubs, much less XS, which was like, every year wins top nightclub in the entire world.
It was slightly different for me.
Yeah. Because she'd already done Playboy.
Well, yeah, I was working at the Playboy Club. Okay. And then, J-Rock.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that's right. So J-Rock was in here a couple of days ago. So J-Rock's at the Palms.
Yeah, he was working with me at the Palms.
Okay.
And then I left Playboy Club and he's like, just go over to Tristan XS. So I did. But at that time when I got hired, I was basically hired in the middle of the season. And there was no audition process. There was nothing. I just got hired. It was the year after I got hired, or maybe 2 years after I got hired, that they began doing like auditions and seasonal positions. Whereas before it was either full-time or steady extras is what they were called. Mm-hmm. But basically you had to audition and then re-audition every year for your position again.
So let's talk about specifically XS right now. So Wet Republic, Encore Beach Club, Omnia. Let's just talk about those four. I'll throw Marquee in there too. A girl wants to go work there. First off, what would she have to go do? And then like percentage chance of her getting the job.
I have seen some of the most beautiful girls in real life in a phenomenal shape with a huge Instagram following still get turned down.
Yes.
And personality. It's not like, oh, these girls are mean or anything. Like, my best friend is drop dead gorgeous. The most beautiful girl I've ever seen in real life.
The girl that I met at
the Asian, the Korean girl? Yes.
I am not going to disagree with you.
That body, that face, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
But she's auditioned before and she didn't get any of the nightclubs.
Right.
It's a lot of it, unfortunately, is who you know, and I guess playing the game. I don't even know how to describe it.
Would you say it is the most difficult job in all of nightlife to get? The cocktail servers in Las Vegas, at one of those really big clubs.
The pools, I think, are the hardest. The nightclubs would come in pretty close, but I think the pools are, because pools want that super fitness model.
Yes.
kind of body, and they want social media, networking girls, and they want beauty, and they want personality. Like, it's a lot all in one.
Per shift, they make more at the pools than the nightclubs.
They make what I would have made all year long at Excess. They make it in their 5 months of their pool season.
That's crazy.
And that most of the time, the girls wouldn't even work during like fall and winter. They would just travel and chill.
5 months? You mean 8 months? Because we go to they go March to October, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
It used to not be like that. Dude, Adam, you never believe this. There was a point where, and I think they're still doing this now, they would open the pools the second week of March. It would be 54 degrees outside.
Still freezing.
And the pools would open. And then they'd close the week before Halloween. It was crazy. They were squeezing every dime they could out of these pools. How much, if you don't mind me asking, how much do you think the girls make, say during the prime, working at a pool for the entire season?
Some of the girls that I know that work at Wet have made $200,000.
Yeah, about $200,000
Yeah.
for working 8 months a year.
And meanwhile, I made in 2013, allegedly, I made 213. And that was working the entire year. That was 2013. You got to, mind you, this is when like EDM and dance and house like blew up. And that was, we had every single DJ. We had Afrojack, we had Tiesto, we had David, we had every DJ you can know. And then there was no Omnia, there was no Hakkasan.
Yes, there was
we
not as
were
much competition.
it. Like Excess was it. So
Sounds terrible. I don't know why that job would be so competitive.
Okay, so that's about what 213. That's about what you make as a officer on flight duty with hazard pay, right? About 213 a year.
Sure. Nowhere close. No.
Nowhere close, right? But you were saying this before. As an instructor, you would have some students that would come in and they would be a little bit like not have as much gratitude because why? You're saying you're getting paid to fly an F-18.
Yeah, I mean, they are putting in long hours, so their heart's in it, but they'll just get burnt out, and you hear some complaints every once in a while. You just kind of have to remind them and ground them that, like, hey, dude, you're getting paid a lot of money, and your only job right now is to learn how to fly this aircraft. Once you get to your combat squadron, it only gets worse because now you have Marine sailors that you're an officer in charge of, and then you still have to stay on top of all your studying of the tactics, which are constantly changing. So it's like, dude, you have it really good right now. Like, work your hardest and don't lose sight of what's important and how lucky you are right now. Because, I mean, there are people everywhere that would trade with you in a heartbeat. So.
Actually flying the jet is what rank it top 10 favorite things in the world to do. What would actually flying the jet be?
Top one.
Top one. That'd be your favorite thing in the world to do.
Yep.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like the missions over Afghanistan, and so for me, my experience is obviously completely different than yours because I was a KC-135 navigator. It's a Boeing 707 where they remove the luggage compartments and put in a 200,000 pound fuel tank. The fuel tank's not 200,000 pounds. It holds 200,000 pounds of fuel if you add up all the fuel tanks together. And then we would give off gas to aircraft. And because Adam flies a Navy aircraft, we would give him a drogue. Right. So it's basically like a kite that flies off the back of the airplane, and he would fly into it, and then he would receive gas from us from doing that. For Air Force aircraft, we have what's called a boom, and they would literally they would fly the boom into the top. And what I should ask Travis to pull up some footage of air refueling. We'll do that later at some other point. So, do you remember that incredible BMW commercial with the KC-135 where the guy, like, he opens up the sunroof and he puts his coffee mug up outside the sunroof, and the KC-135 is flying low and puts coffee into his coffee mug? Have you ever seen this one?
No, I haven't.
It's incredible. Like, somehow the Air Force got into a BMW commercial. It's pretty crazy.
Smart.
But the point I'm trying to make is, how about all the, I guess, queep? How about all the stuff that you had to do other than flying the jet? And did you have a guest list when you were at XS ever?
No, we never had guest lists.
Because you guys are union. Is that the reason
culinary
why?
union.
Okay, so
that wasn't the reason why, but yeah, we were calling it because Surrender had guest lists and we didn't.
Okay, so talk to me about that. So you have other jobs. No, you guys didn't have XS, but you had other jobs. So let's say you're at Surrender. What were some of those other things that you had to do? Like guest lists, what else?
We were required to post most of the time, not like something that they would check and they would dock you for, but they would ask us to post on our social media, like the flyers for the DJs that week or whatever was coming up. There was once in a while promos that we would do photos for or videos for. We did a photo shoot with David Guetta. We did a photo shoot for Las Vegas Magazine. We did a bunch of stuff, but like mainly there was just during the week it was closed, so we would just work banquets during the week, and then on the weekend it was full party nightclub.
Did you find any of this stuff to be tedious, or you just wanted to work, or what do you think about it?
The banquets were tedious.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
When they would buy out the nightclub to do like company parties, and then we'd have to sit there and polish 3,000 glasses of wine and tray pass them. Like.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Now, you and I were U.S. military officers, and we flew an aircraft. And then our other jobs were what?
Particularly in the Navy and Marine Corps, like you're all on an aircraft carriers. So every pilot, you're going to dual hat. You're going to be a pilot, but then you're also going to be in charge of like a maintenance division or something like that. And the F-18 is too complicated for any one person to know how to fix everything. So you'll have a shot dedicated to electronics, to the comm nav, to the weapons. They're called ordies, to the engines. And so every single one of those shops has an officer in charge, and you're responsible, not only for all the administrative side, like leadership development, doing their paperwork, writing their fitness reports or their performance evaluations, but you are also making sure that, they're equipped and that they have everything that they need in order to train and do their own job. And that will easily take up 60, 70% of your time.
And you're a fighter pilot. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, I was KC-135 navigator. So I would fly these missions when I was deployed. It would be one time. Longest one I did was 11 hours and 45 minutes. It was so we left Doha, Qatar, out of Al Udeid Air Base. Please, hopefully I didn't get this wrong, because Al Dhafra is in Abu Dhabi. So we'd leave Al Udeid Air Base. We'd fly south around Iran. We'd fly through Pakistan airspace and then into Afghanistan. When we're in Afghanistan, the receiver never showed up. So now remember, it's great that your airplane can hold 200,000 pounds of fuel until the receiver doesn't show up. And so we had white air and blue air. We had black ops and white ops, right? White ops is we're just going to fly. We're going to refuel F-16s, F-15s. Just regular missions. The black stuff, I can't say what it was, but it was other aircraft that were special operations, and we would fly those. We would refuel those aircraft. And so when the black stuff did not show up, then we got pushed over to white world, right? And so I'm a navigator. I'm specifically there for the black world stuff, but I'm sitting there helping them with the white world stuff. And now the white world guys don't show up either, and they're like, "Well, just stay on station. You still got gas, right? You still got gas, right?" So they keep you out there, and you took off with all this gas, and you can't land heavy. Right, I can't land with more than 45,000 pounds of gas, or else I'm going to literally have to spray gas out of the back of the aircraft in order to land.
Why?
Because the struts. You can't just imagine. So this is a great question. Yeah. So this is a kind of a physics question. Some aircraft, you take off light and refuel in the air. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because the aircraft. So one of the limiting factor is altitude and humidity.
Because you can't take off with
and
that
temperature.
With that
Well, so think about this. The easiest way to take off is cool, cold, low altitude, right? Dry air. That's the easiest way to take off, because when you're cold and you're low, there's more air molecules in a shorter amount of space. So per given amount of volume, you have more air molecules or more oxygen molecules, which go over the aircraft's airfoils and go into the engine, which creates combustion. Am I right? That's so far?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Now, as we get more humid, hold on. Just follow me.
Slow down.
Just follow me.
Pretty.
As we get more humid, now we're replacing those oxygen molecules with water molecules, which are not combustible. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So now we're not getting the same amount of thrust. As we get hotter, we're expanding. Now the same number of air molecules has now expanded. So given for the same amount of volume, we actually have fewer air molecules. So what you want is colder, you want drier, and you want lower, right? This is the reason why you've heard about the accidents that happen at the Air Force Academy, because they take off a cliff, and they're so far, the altitude is so high, you'll take off and the aircraft will literally just drop because there's not enough speed. You need so much speed, and you need in order to do it, right? It's easier to take off low, dry, and cold. So when you get into places like Abu Dhabi, where it is not dry and it is certainly not cold, but it is low, when you take off in places like that, we can't take off at 220,000 pounds, which is the heaviest weight that a KC-135, I believe, can take off. So that would be like Travis Air Force Base or somewhere near the coast, maybe Vandenberg, someplace like that, Edwards, nearer sea level, right? Even here at Nellis, I think we're 2,500 feet, 2,800 feet. You'd have to be near the sea level. It would have to be dry, and it would have to be cold, and you could take off at 220,000 pounds. Well, in Abu Dhabi, it's hotter than shit. It's 122 degrees on the runway, and it is incredibly humid. The air is as humid as it can possibly be at 122. So like in the morning, the whole place is covered in fog. Have you ever seen the pictures of Dubai? In the morning, the whole entire place is covered in fog, because now this incredible heat that is coming is burning off all this excess humidity from the Gulf, and now this fog gets burned off, and now you're taking this extremely hot, extremely humid air, and now you're having to take off. So we have to take off light. A lot of times we would. So now let's look at like F-117, or especially something like a B-52 or a B-2. These are large aircraft. That's the only thing you need to know. These large aircraft, when they take off, we can't give them full fuel loads. So when they take off in the air, now they have the airspeed to go really fast. Now it doesn't matter how heavy they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now we'll dump our gas off into them, 60, 70,000 pounds of gas into a B-2 or a B-52 or whatever. And then we'll do that. Now that aircraft can go off and finish its mission, go, bomb some other country like on the other side of the planet. But no, realistically, you know what a KC-135 was built for. It was built for one mission back in the 1950s. It was built to accompany a B-52 across the Atlantic Ocean to drop a nuke, or over the Arctic Circle to drop a nuke on Moscow or some other Russian country. That was the only purpose for it. It was a one-use vehicle. It was not created to refuel the entire Air Force arsenal. It certainly was not created to refuel the Navy arsenal. But because the Boeing creates the best aircraft in the world, and they up until recently obviously they can't get their thumb out of their ass. But Boeing used to create the best aircraft in the world. That was the whole purpose of a KC-135. And I had a secondary job. I was a military deception officer. I did counterintelligence work. I was a planning officer. I did both planning shops. So there's crew planning, and I believe there was military planning. And I also built the website for the unit's charity events and all kinds of stuff. You have all these secondary jobs that you have, which is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Like you have
But you're required.
Correct. You have the fun part of your job, and then you have the part of your job where you have to do CBTs. You remember the CBTs?
Computer-based training.
Can you describe some of your most favorite CBTs?
Information assurance, it's
Love information assurance, but
cyber awareness.
nothing beats human trafficking, though, bro. The human trafficking CBT, basically, I would tell, all right, guys, time to take the stop pimping CBT. Stop pimping people CBT. I didn't know what human trafficking meant at the time, and I'm watching the CBT, and then of course during the time I was in homosexuality awareness CBT, what didn't exist, and then it did exist because we changed
CBT
from
standing for
computer-based training.
Got it.
That whole thing changed, and I know at the Win they have certain programs and things that you guys have
sensitivity
followed.
training.
Correct.
And
It's very interesting. Again, I wanted to show how we have a cocktail server and a fighter pilot, and we have very common human experiences here, right? So anyway, I'm curious, do you guys have any questions for each other? Do you have any questions for the fighter pilot? Do you have any questions for a girl who went to the Playboy Mansion? No? I put you guys on the spot.
I feel like if I ask him a question, I'm going to sound more dumb asking the question.
You absolutely aren't. You absolutely aren't, because the thing is, most people are not going to know about this world.
Right.
The point, guys, is, I was thinking there was other names I wanted for the show. One of them was just intellectual curiosity, and the other one was there are no dumb questions. And then the other name for it I wanted called the physicist and the Playmate. That was another name I wanted to give it. But so there are no dumb questions. So do you guys have any for each other?
I can't think of one right
Off
now.
the top of my head.
Okay, I got one. Ready? Area 51. So you fly in red flag. Okay.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously there's certain things that you can't talk about, but you can certainly ask him about them. Okay. So this thing called red flag, and I was part of it also. I did red flag in Alaska. He's done red flag here in Las Vegas. The way red flag works is it's basically a pickup basketball game, but with fighter jets. Right. There's blue air and red air. Red air are the bad guys. They're people literally paid to simulate enemy MiGs, enemy fighter
this is
jets.
simulations. Okay.
No, they're fighting each other. The ordnance are simulations, and you guys, red air and blue air, have to stay at different altitudes until they engage. Is that
just for safety? Yep.
Right. So there's aggressor squadrons. There's literally squadrons in the U.S. military that are paid, that are built up and trained to fight our own Air Force. Simulate
Simulate threat tactics.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's almost like a basketball coach who comes out there and puts you through drills. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you mentioned something about an area over, by the way, Area 51's official name is the Nellis Test Range. You somewhere in Area 51, what did it say?
So what I can say is, in the middle of this massive airspace where we do these anywhere from 50 versus 50 plane large force exercises, there's one spot of airspace called the container, which is you shall not fly into this. Otherwise,
Groom Lake.
You'll be directed to land. Reportedly, allegedly, people in suits, black suits, will meet you at your aircraft and strip your aircraft of every single device that is possible of any sort of recording. It's just very secret squirrel. Like,
What
don't
if you shoved
don't
a
touch
recording
it. Don't even
device
look
up
at
your
it.
butt and then pulled it out later?
Bro, you don't think they came find they don't search our butt? That was the first thing they did when we joined the military. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So aliens or not?
They're just billionaires from other planets, I think.
So basically, there's a
Jeff Bezos.
There's a Jeff Bezos from another galaxy who's visiting us, and that's what the Tic Tac thing.
That's his house. That's his little base.
That's what he saw. So you're saying there's a place? Can you say was it near Groom Lake where this area was?
I won't even say that.
Okay,
but
won't even say that.
it's the most inconveniently placed spot in the entire airspace.
And it's just right. It's right in the middle of the. Okay, so there's this place called Groom Lake, which is Area 51, and the reason why we use a lake bed is because you can land in 360 degrees. And I'm going to give you the white world explanation for what Area 51 is. It's basically, if you ever seen an F-15 or an F-22 or F-16, any fighter jet that the United States Air inventory has, if you ever seen them before they were open to the public, they had to be developed secretly. That makes sense, right? We don't want the Russians to know what an F-16.
What you're developing. Yeah.
Correct. In fact, we call the F-117 an F-117, but what is an F-117 actually?
It's a bomber.
It's a bomber, but we called it a fighter. That's what the F stands for. We literally misnamed it to trick the Russians. Got it? So it's an F-117. It holds two. Yes, and it's a stealth aircraft. So the F-117, we developed this. We're going to develop this at Groom Lake. We're going to test fly this thing at Groom Lake because we don't know how the aeronautics work. We have a bunch of test pilots that come there, and this is super, super, super secret shit that we can't let anybody see. And that's what Area 51 is. The white world answer. The black world answer. The conspiracy answer is what? We fucking hold aliens there. Okay, 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Some alien crashes. We take the body and the technology. We put it in there, and then that's when Lazard. What's his name? Travis, do you know his name? The Lazard?
No.
Okay. There's the guy who went on the Joe Rogan talking about literally seeing anti-gravitational portals and things like that. Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe that we're doing something like that? Which part of the conspiracy do you believe in?
There's absolutely no shot in the entire universe that we're alone.
I agree that.
There's no shot. There's got to be like some other life form, even if it's not like a walking, talking, human-like form of alien. There's something else. There's another life form for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Somewhere.
Okay. Lieutenant?
I mean, I do agree with that. I just think it's interesting. Like, either every alien race has reached a certain point, it goes extinct, or they're very shy because.
Do you believe that they're walking amongst us? Like some people believe that some of us are.
Like the movie. I don't know. I think they would probably. I need to see something more than just like an ATM camera. So quality,
they're always like Android-y, pixelated.
Yes.
They're never clear.
Give me at least an iPhone
What?
quality picture.
Seriously, nothing HD or 4K ever.
So you, Jesse, brought up the argument that Neil deGrasse Tyson brought up, and you brought up the argument that Stephen Hawking brought up. Stephen Hawking's argument was that if there were alien races, one of two things has either happened. Either there's none of them and they haven't got here, or there's plenty of them, and once a civilization gets to a certain point, it annihilates itself, and so they never get this far. Okay, that's the argument you made. The argument Neil deGrasse Tyson made, and we'll go into the whole Tic Tac video. You obviously know the one I'm talking about. When the argument Neil deGrasse Tyson made is, I have an iPhone with 7x digital zoom that can shoot in 4K at 60 frames a second. Where are the fucking aliens? Stop giving me the shitty video. I don't understand how there's this many people that are out there with these phones, and where are they? Come on the front lawn. Show us where you are. Show us something. We'd have a little bit more evidence. And so let me ask you. So let's go back to specifically the Tic Tac video. Now I don't think you've probably seen this, but there's a Navy. Was it a Navy fighter pilot?
Yes.
And this is 2013, somewhere around there. What year was this?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there.
Okay. He sees an object, and what does it do? Do you remember this?
Reportedly, it's going from like 50,000 feet to 1,000 feet in like a split second almost.
I think I saw that on.
It was on the news. The FBI, or not the FBI.
Didn't Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan had the fighter pilot on there. Yes,
okay.
correct.
Yeah, moving at crazy speeds, like against the wind, and they have it on. I believe it's their AT FLIR, or forward-looking infrared targeting pod, which is basically like a super camera that can see in infrared. So that is what I believe was released, but. As far as like the classification and everything, like, they don't tell us anything because the less we know, then the less security risk there is of course, anything being divulged.
So that's why it's TSSCI. Remember what the SCI is for?
Special compartmentalized information.
Right. So when we get, he and I both had top secret government. He probably still does. I had a top secret government clearance 5 years up until after I got out of the military, and it's special compartmental. What is the I for? Information. So just because we had top secret clearance doesn't mean we all got to see the aliens at Roswell. We got to see our specific part of top secret. Does that make sense? And what I used to say when I worked with the intel shop is. Secret means something that Fox News found out about 30 minutes ago, and top secret means something that Fox News found out about 15 minutes ago. That's what top secret means. Dude, you have no idea how many times we would get briefings about things that we would see on the news. It happened all the time. And we're like, dude, I thought this was top secret. What is going on? Funniest thing ever. So I was dating a girl who lived in Thailand, and Thailand their government's been overthrown a few times since in the last 20 years. And I'm on the I'm sitting there watching CNN or something like that, and Thailand's government just gets overthrown. Like they rush parliament, they go in there. And I call this girl and I'm telling her, I was like, hey, just to let you know, not to be an alarmist or whatever, but your government's been overthrown. You know, kind of the girl. Just imagine I'm dating a girl and I'm explaining to her because I'm in the intel shop at a military base that your government was just overthrown. Sorry about that. Hope you have a nice day. Let's go to dinner later. I'm in Wichita, Kansas when I do this.
It's a fadeaway jumper.
Yes, it was pretty funny. And then I was like, what a unique experience to tell a girl you're dating your government's been overthrown, right? So, but this was on the news. There was a second time there's a former Soviet republic where the U.S. has a military base where they have KC-135s. It's Bishkek. I want to say Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or something. I think it's Kyrgyzstan. Please, I may be getting this one wrong, but we only have KC-135s there. We don't have any fighter jets at this place. While we were there, while we had jets there at their international airport, the parliament was stormed by rebels. And the government was overthrown. But we were giving them so much money that even the rebels were like, thank you, United States. Absolutely. Stay here. We love you. We saw this on the news. And I'm literally going to the 06 to explain to him, I'm watching on the news as the government is being overthrown in a country where we have military assets. And he didn't know. He didn't know. It was one of the craziest things. It was like we had, I say, a certain amount of jets there on the runway. And I was like, Colonel, I don't know how to explain this, but I'm watching the news and it looks like Bishkek is, or again, I'm going to say the name wrong. Somebody could remind me. It looks like the government's been overthrown and they've got pitchforks outside and
they're pillaging.
They're pillaging. Yeah, it was really interesting. This happened within the same year. I'm literally like finding out that one of our military bases is overthrown, and I'm explaining to a girl that her government was overthrown. Like while we went on a date the night before, and then I go to work and I find out that her government was overthrown. It's pretty funny. Yeah, amazing. All right, guys. So here's a couple of the topics I wanted to go over. I did Political Junkies yesterday with Brian Howie. Recommend all of you guys watch it. Also, all the shows here at Sticky Paw Studios. I would highly recommend you guys watch Well Connected. You've been a guest on the Well Connected podcast. Anyone who wants to get into nightlife in Las Vegas or come to move to Las Vegas, Well Connected is required listening, 100%. So when he was on there yesterday, one of the things we talked about is we had Scott Baio on as we were interviewing him. And Scott Baio was Chachi from Happy Days. You remember?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So a lot of people don't remember. It's a little bit before some of y'all's time.
I never watched the show, but I know who Scott Baio is.
You know he is. So yeah. We had Scott Baio on. And Scott Baio is a unique individual because Scott Baio, he is a politically conservative person who lives in Hollywood, and it's not super common. There's not a lot of people who are openly conservative and that live in Hollywood. And so he comes on and he's saying things that are somewhat right of center. I mean, some of them go very right of center, but a few of them are just mid-level right of center. And one of the discussions that we had was intellectual curiosity versus internet hatred. Now, in the last couple weeks, just for people who don't know, this is the 30th of July in 2021 when we're doing this podcast. There is a female who was born a male who wants to be who's competing in weightlifting in the Olympics. You guys are aware of that, right? And there's also a situation where there is an athlete, Simone Biles, who was slated to win the individual gold in gymnastics, and then she dropped out for mental health reasons, right? Okay. The point that we made yesterday was I didn't really follow women's weightlifting or women's gymnastic enough to hate either one of these people. But when I go online, that's all I see. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The idea that we can't have an intellectual conversation about something, we have to hate each other. And the last thing I told Scott Baio was, because he was talking about on Twitter, like this guy gets a ton of hate and people are always coming after him. I was like, Scott, even if I don't agree with you, and there's a lot of things Scott said that I don't agree with, even if I was a huge Bernie supporter, we should be able to raise money for charity together. We should be able to go get a beer together. We should be able to express ideas. We should be able to joke around with each other and not hate each other. Can you guys talk about that? You as a military member and you as a model, can you talk about how someone doesn't know you and then all of a sudden you find out rumors about yourself?
There's judgments in every aspect of the industry, of modeling, Las Vegas. Everyone assumes based off my social media or the way that I look that I'm also for hire, for pay. Like I'm not an escort. Not to say that anyone who does that sex work is, something completely different.
Adam, I got to give you the disclaimer. When you're in Las Vegas and you start talking about sex work, we all say the same thing. We're like, nothing wrong with anyone who does that, because if we start judging, like, again, we live in 702. You live in 702. You lose the ability to judge anyone for anything. You understand what I'm saying?
Even the people that are like, oh, ew, escorts, yeah, they're still doing it. You just don't know about it.
Yeah.
It's like some of the girls are not being more obvious with it and not posting and
Not as
flaunting
overt.
it, but they're still being paid for their time in other ways on certain times of the day or whatever. No hate on it, but yes, there is a lot of judgment passed. Even like, for example, I think I've discussed this with you before, me being a model or me being who I am in this town, which is not a big deal, but like, I've been here for a long time, so I know everybody. I've networked with people here. When I speak on mental health or when I speak on anything on my social media, I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of people saying, why are you putting your business out there? I get a lot of people saying, why are you discussing this? And I'm going to use my platform to have a bigger conversation and to learn. Like, I was one of those dumb people that was like, stop saying Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. Until it was explained to me why it was being like worded that way. And I was like, okay, wow, I learned something, and I wouldn't have been able to have that conversation had we not all had different opinions and listened to each other and had an open, honest dialogue. But everyone sees me and they think, okay, she's either naked and dumb and doesn't do anything. And that's just what the perception is.
In psychology, it's called heuristics, right? We're going to look for the easiest, cleanest explanation for what somebody is. So if you look at my social media, everybody thinks I host charity events and bikini competitions, and that's what I do for a living. And I work for a financial firm. Nobody knows this, but it doesn't fit into the narrative that they see. So it's very confusing. Your situation, have you dealt with the same situation where it's like a very simple, reductive explanation misses the whole point?
Yeah, I think quite often what happens is just people's egos just get on the line, so their ears shut off. Usually the military are pretty good about having a conversation about things because everyone's there to try to learn and be better. But definitely once the ego gets involved, then conversation just kind of stops. So, but definitely encouraging, like in the military, you always want to have an open mind. If you have an issue that, one of your subordinates approaches you with, you're always going to listen without judgment. Like the worst thing you can do to shut off that communication is like, it can be just like one judgmental remark that you don't even mean. And then now the person just stops telling you.
Now, question though, and I don't want this to sound offensive. You're like, is very ego based. Do you think that's because your industry is more male driven?
I would say that's definitely probably part of it.
They're fucking fighter pilots. Of course.
It's a very
what are you talking about?
apex predator type A personality, high performers that the ego definitely does get involved quite often because of that. So we, particularly in our community, we go pretty far to cut that shit off at the knees. So if someone's being super arrogant or whatever, we're going to try to nip that in the bud as soon as possible, to the point where you get call signs that basically make fun of you, just as a way to humble you and, force that humility, because obviously the arrogance is going to end up killing people or have very bad ramifications in real life. So, it is a constant battle to force being open mind. And then, also because it's a very male centric community, there's definitely that piece as well. So
the single thing I miss about the U.S. military the most is not having people talk shit about me behind my back, coming to my face and telling me.
Worse than Vegas?
No, not.
Oh, okay.
In Vegas, it's the worst problem I've ever had in
Yeah.
my life. Like for those of you who don't know, when you move to Las Vegas, this is not a college environment. You are back in high school. We literally used to remember what was the thing we did every year at the bank? The prom. We called it the fucking prom. We had Letterman's jackets.
We had a prom king and queen.
Prom king and queen.
Yeah.
We had their names stitched. Like literally, when you live in Las Vegas, you are living around so many good-looking people who, make a lot of money, and it's very, very cliquey here, and you realize you're back in high school. The number one thing I miss about being in the U.S. military is when I had somebody who had a problem with me, they absolutely would come and tell me to my face what the problem was, and we could deal with what the problem was. It was fantastic. There was no passive aggressive behavior. I learned from my mistakes, or I cleared up whatever the problem is. Since I have moved here, One of the worst things that's happened is sometimes it'll be 3, 4, 5 years later. I'll talk to a photographer or a host, and he's explaining to me things about myself that are not true, that are made out of like complete fiction. And I was like, this guy has hated me for 4 years.
That's been your narrative for 5 years in that person's mind.
And for 4 or 5 years, this guy has been walking up to me pretending to not fucking hate me when he does the whole time. And then I explained to him, I'm like, you know that was my ex-girlfriend who told you that, right? Like, none of this is true. Like, how have you... This is not specifically, it was a guy from Vegas, but it's not specifically in Vegas. It was a guy from Vegas. I was working for this one company. An accident happened where my camera equipment was stolen. I was doing videography on the red carpet. He went and told the company I was working for that I stole my own equipment, that I was going to use the equipment in order, and you actually know who I'm talking about, Jesse. You know who he is. That I stole my own equipment, that I was going to start my own company, and that I was going to use the footage from the red carpet to use something else. And the people, I don't know if they believed it, but they didn't work with me for 2 years. 2 years later, they asked me to come host their New Year's party, and they apologized to me for the whole situation because obviously I didn't steal my own fucking equipment.
How'd they find out?
Huh?
How'd they find out the truth?
Well, because there was no YouTube channel with the footage.
With the content
there was
on
no
it.
second. There was like he told a lie that was going to prove itself to be a lie over time, and they apologized to me, and they were really nice to me, and I worked with them again. But it took 2 years for me to get to this point. Meanwhile, I don't even know this is the lie being told about me. Does that make
You should have
sense?
sued for loss of wages for those 2 years.
Well, I mean, maybe I could have, but I mean that seems like a huge hassle too. But the main situation, also, I'm going to have to subpoena people that I want to work for. That's never
no, not them.
But I do, because they're the ones. No, I could,
No, the liar.
yeah, I understand, but I got to subpoena in order to prove it. I got to
Everyone's
subpoena.
gonna be wrapped.
Everyone
got
has to
it.
be
They get
subpoenaed.
wrapped
One of
up
the
in it.
problems, this is everyone's like, oh, sue people for defamation. You can't, because if you want to work at Shop A and person B is talking shit about you, and then you want to prove that person B is talking shit and you want to sue them for defamation, you have to subpoena everyone at Shop A. Guess who doesn't want to hire you anymore?
Yeah.
Shop A does not want to hire you anymore. So that's the reason why you have to just kind of deal with it. The number one thing I miss about being in the U.S. military is when someone had a problem with me, they would come talk to me personally about it, and we would straighten it out. And I would either apologize and change my behavior, or I would explain to them how they got something wrong. And now, being here back in high school, which is what it is like in Las Vegas, vast majority of time I have no problem whatsoever. But when I hear rumors about me being a drug dealer, a pimp, or whatever the fuck that people want to make up about me, I don't even get mad anymore. I'm just like, I feel pity, because I'm like, how do you live your life believing things that aren't true? Does that make sense?
You know what one of the biggest problems is, and I think that this is something that hasn't been talked about a lot. I thought some things about you as well, but I didn't hold it against you. It's because of the people that we're friends with.
Yes.
If we are friends with a pimp, we must be hoeing.
Right.
If you're friends with someone who owns an escort agency, obviously you must be sex trafficking.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We are friends with a lot of people in the industry that also moonlight as drug dealers or as this, and they're not hiding it by any means. So then you see somebody hanging out with that person, and all of a sudden I must be an escort because I'm hanging out with. It's just association, you know,
And a lot of times we don't know. Like, I've got news for you. Any VIP host is listening to this. If you have been a VIP host for a long enough period of time, and you've sold tables 10K minimums, 15K minimums, 20K minimums, at some point you have sold a table to a convicted felon. Sorry to be the one to tell you this. Maybe you weren't aware. At some point, a convicted felon has come and bought a dance floor table, and you didn't give a shit because you took his money, and there is nothing wrong with that. But what happens is, like you said, by association, these things happen, and then these rumors start. I have decided that my resolution for 2021 and 2022, I'm only going to be around people who aren't passive aggressive. I'm only going to be around people who will tell me I got a booger in my nose, there's something wrong with my teeth, you said something stupid, you smell funny. I'm going to be around people who are going to tell me when there's a problem, and not go 4 or 5 years and hold things against me or believe things about me that aren't true. I had one awesome photographer, been knowing this guy, thought we were cool forever. He comes to me one time and he's like, dude, I've always thought you were an asshole, and like, you're doing all these nice things for me, and I'm so confused. And I'm like, who told you I was an asshole, man? It's like, oh, so and so and so and so. And I was like, oh man, dude, I don't work with these people anymore, man. I'm sorry, bro. I wish.
There's a reason why you don't work with them.
It's contagious too.
It's like, and like you said before, passive aggressive behavior is contagious. So like, man, you know what? I can't fucking stand Jesse Preston. Bro, Adam, hey. don't tell Jesse, but I can't stand Jesse Preston.
I'm wrapped in it.
Now you're wrapped in it. Now it's a disease. My passive aggressive behavior is now a virus that is now spread to you. Now you have to be a passive aggressive person also. And so that's the issue here. Another reason why I wanted to start this podcast is because You guys ever read the Lincoln Douglas debates? Do you guys remember that in high school, the Lincoln Douglas debates? You ever read this? There's actually a form of debate called Lincoln Douglas. And during the debates, I believe is Illinois governorship. I can't remember what the Lincoln Douglas debates were for specifically, but what I'm saying is 4, 5, 6 hours long. We've gotten away from long form content. We've gotten to the point where the belief system about who I am as a person come from 15-second IG story clips, and they come from photographs on my Instagram, right? And yet at the same time, I try to read between 40 and 60 books a year. I have a lot of ideas that I want to express. I know that you guys have ideas, complicated ideas about things like domestic abuse, animal rescue, or civil rights. We have complicated ideas that we cannot express in 15 seconds. And so one of the things I wanted to do with this podcast is have a very digestible form of long form content. And I'm just going to be honest with you, Joe Rogan is a huge reason why I'm doing this. There's another podcast called It's Just Banter out of Dallas where I listen to these guys too. Some of my favorite podcasts, I listen to them and I'm like, they can get me to listen for 3 hours. This is doable. They can get me to listen for 3 hours. This is doable. And then maybe we can stop just believing shit about vaccines, hydrochloroquine, the fucking earth is flat, and that we didn't land on the moon in 1969. And we can actually do some research on these things. Does that make sense? You guys know that there is no cure for a virus, any virus. There's no cure for any virus. Did you guys know this, Travis? Travis, did you know this? There is no.
I absolutely knew it. Yes.
Yeah, there is no
Brand new
cure
information to
for
me.
any virus. Ready? We've just been deplatformed on YouTube and Facebook. Ready? There is no cure for any virus ever. There are vaccines. There is no cure. When someone goes on social media and tells you X, Y, or Z cures a virus, they are fucking lying. Do you guys understand? And this is a problem that nobody is checking or calling. Now, listen, are the studies out? Well, let's just take hydrochloroquine as an example. Does hydrochloroquine reduce some of the symptoms for COVID? I don't know. The studies are still out of that. But I heard it cures coronavirus, or vitamin D cures coronavirus. Nothing cures a virus. It replicates the RNA in your cells. The virus becomes you. Viruses are not separate from human beings like bacteria are. Viruses are you. So there is no cure for a virus. Eventually antibodies come up and you still live with the antibodies for the virus, sometimes for a couple years, like an HPV, it's like 2 or 3 years, or viruses sometimes will last for the rest of your life. So when we hear this, we don't want to take the time to read a biology book. We don't want to take the time to read a book about astrophysics, astrodynamics, quantum mechanics. We don't want to read those things. We just get our news from Facebook. And when someone doesn't agree with what we say, then we hate them. This is essentially what the problem is, right? We hate them. I want to switch it up real quick and talk about this. You've lived in Vegas for about a month.
Correct.
You've been here for about 10 years.
Oh, virgin.
Right?
Oh, it's
No,
so
That's
cute.
2 cherries are popping.
Literally, yes. So, dating in this city. It is dating in Las Vegas is dating in Las Vegas. I would consider performance art.
Can you zoom in on my face? That's what it feels like.
Dating in Las Vegas, I would consider that to be performance art. It is so challenging here when you meet, because the thing that makes it challenging isn't just that the people have their own agendas. It's that they're so fucking good looking. Would you agree, Jesse? Like, that is one of the problems here, is that there's so many attractive people that live here that have no interest in settling down, but will tell you that they have an interest in settling down, right? And it's when you go, here's the thing when I try to describe to Vegas. Are there more attractive women in Los Angeles County than Clark County? Probably, because there's like 8 million people there and there's only a little under 3 million people here. Of course, there are more attractive women in Los Angeles. There's models, all kinds of people. Per capita, we are the winner. I think in the whole world, this city is. If you go to the gyms here, it is intimidating how many women are in just incredible shape, how many men are in incredible shape. There's no like kind of attractive people here.
It's because this city is like 80% of the jobs is hospitality,
Yes.
and you're required to look good.
Yes.
So our entire city is overrun with what you would call the model kind of look.
Yes.
But a different kind of model look. It's not like supermodels like 6 foot tall, but it's big boobs and
Shout out to Masha Diddick, who's 6 foot tall.
a lot of the people here are very good looking. So even if you were to walk in on your girlfriend cheating on you, in a week you'll probably be back together.
Dude,
because she's really hot.
I will tell you, the fact that so many good looking people live here makes it harder to date here, not easier to date here. So you've had a month here. Describe your experience.
I think after a month, I already know it's going to be a while before I try to settle down in Vegas. Like,
Because why? You enjoy it, you don't enjoy it.
Well, I enjoy it. I just think it's, like you just said, it's going to be very hard to, there's just so many attractive people here and stuff. I mean, to just pick one within the first month or two is just, I feel like a recipe for disaster.
He said to pick one.
To pick
oh
one.
my God.
Yeah.
So, Jesse,
Not planning on doing that anytime
Jesse,
soon.
go ahead. Give us your 2 cents here.
The way he says it, like, ooh, the kid in the candy store. I don't want to pick one
Nope.
candy. I want to pick them all. At least, you know what? At least you're aware of that and you're honest about it, because there are some people that are like, oh no, I want a family. I want to settle down. And then
No,
they're
I'm
like,
not going to tell that to girls either.
Okay, so this is Jesse. What does it say in the code of conduct? I will not what?
I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate anyone who does.
I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate anyone amongst us who does.
will someone send me that code of conduct?
That is the code of conduct in the U.S. military.
I want that.
Ready? So for us, will I date multiple women at the same time? Yes. Will I lie to any of them about it? No. I am always been. It is not the. I've always said this, and I've said this to you. It is not the cheating; it's the lying.
Right. That's the betrayal.
It's not the cheating, it's the lying. And what happens is, again, highly recommended book. It's called The Evolution of Desire by David Buss, and he goes over this thing called mate guarding. And so what a lot of guys will do is their sexual strategy is, hey, I'm looking at the camera here. Hey, I want to be in a committed relation. Yes, I'm a male stripper. Fuck that. Don't pay. Yeah, maybe I'm a male escort. Stop that. That was my past life. I want to be in a committed relationship with you, cocktail.
And only you.
Only you, cocktail waitress. I want to be in a committed relationship with you and only you.
I have no desire to have sex with anybody else.
No one else, just you. And when I do this, I'm doing this because I do not want any other males to put their penis inside of you. Meanwhile, when you turn around and you go to work, I'm going to go have sex with other women. But you can't have sex with any other men, and that's why I'm telling you we are in a committed relationship.
I'm triggered. I'm so triggered right now.
Or sometimes they even
triggered.
are honest. They're like, I'm a male porn star, but I still want you to be exclusive to me while I go work.
Hey. First of all, I don't appreciate y'all talking about me like I'm not sitting right here.
So do you want to talk about you like you are sitting right here, boss?
What do you ask me? What do you want to know? Because I tell you everything.
Okay, so here's the thing. Now, the common male experience. Hey, Travis, you ready for this? Travis,
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Our friend Jesse Preston, who is one of my close friends, is dating a male porn star. Was dating a male porn star. Open male porn star, worked for Brazzers or whatever. And this male porn star told Jesse Preston he wanted to be in a committed relationship with her. Exclusive. 1, 2, 3, Jesse Preston, go.
Exclusive. I mean, I understood that it was, he kept saying to me that it was a clock in, clock out, just like any other job. Just so happens that I'm putting my penis inside of other girls. But he's like, I don't text other girls. I don't hang out with other girls. I don't go anywhere with anybody. I spend all my free time with you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went into the relationship thinking that it would be just that, until I realized that he is in such high demand. He's working 24 days out of the month. And then on the days that he's off, his penis is out of commission because he needs a break.
And what's your rule when he works the same day he works?
Oh, if he's working that day, I'm not having sex with you. Like, I'm only having sex on your days off when you haven't had your penis inside of 6
Travis, that seems reasonable, right?
Absolutely reasonable. Yeah.
I don't want to be girl number, because there was, I mean, most days it was just one girl, but there are days that he would go to work and he'd have 3, 4, maybe even 5 girls to shoot with that day. Do I want to be girl number 6? No. I will have sex with you tomorrow when you're off and you've showered 6 times and you've done all your things. But like, I came into it thinking that it would be just like a normal job for him, clock in, clock out, until I realized the entire base of our relationship was we couldn't even do anything because he was so busy and working, and we couldn't have a normal relationship.
So let's talk about a couple things that are so great about this story, okay? Number one, that she would want to date someone who's having sex with that many other women, I think is fantastic.
I'm having sex with that many other women. Who cares?
Exactly. So that was we'll talk about that in a little bit. But no judgment zone, right? No judgment zone here. We're in Las Vegas. That part is great. The other part that I thought was great was that, like, clock in, clock out mentality. Like, it didn't bother you that he was having sexual intercourse with porn stars.
Of him.
You were proud of him. You told me you watched him edit videos for his OnlyFans, and you're like, "Ooh, baby, you had sex with her really good." Is that what you said?
Well, there was some parts that I was like, it looks big there. Oh, you really were giving it to her. You were giving it to her. And I was like, you should edit that one spot and like slow-mo it a little bit. Like, I was so proud of him. I'm a supportive girlfriend.
Lieutenant Butel, you're sure your commanding officer is going to be fine with this podcast?
No comment.
Okay, ready?
Show
All right.
him.
No, it'll be fine.
So you told me that story. The fact that you were what would most girls have an issue with? You are having sex with other women. Jesse does not have a problem with that. Jesse is like, I just need more time to have sex with you. She didn't realize, ready for it, he was too in demand. He had to have sex with too many women on too many days of the month. And because of that, she has decided to no longer date him.
Or that he was going to ask you to be exclusive to him while he's still.
Well, he said
There was a wedding ring, correct? There was an engagement ring?
yes.
Okay. Again, Travis, are you following the story?
I'm following,
A
100%.
porn star has given her an engagement ring. He has asked for exclusivity while he has sex with, in some cases, 5 days, 5 women in the same day. And she has a very reasonable rule. I think we both agree with the rule that when he has sexual intercourse with other women, that she doesn't have sex with him on that same day. So after midnight, it's totally fine. As long as we shower, then all that is totally fine.
You're an asshole.
I'm not an asshole.
He would say that to me. He's like, if I go to work and I'm done at noon, by 8 p.m. that night, we can have sex because it's been like if we went to sleep for 8 hours. I'm like, no, I am not doing that. I am absolutely not doing that.
I'm sorry. I see things his way. I totally agree with him. I totally agree with him in
If
this
we
case.
haven't gone to sleep, our cells have not regenerated and it is still the same day. Absolutely not. No.
I mean, we think of like 12 hours bottled to brief.
Yeah, so-
But then
I
that's
mean,
the other thing.
You could have a drink in the morning as long as you wait 12 hours to
That's
go
the
brief at
other
night.
fucked up thing is that even if, let's say that I wanted to agree to that 8-hour rule, if he had to work the next day at 7 a.m., he can't have sex with me that night because he's got to store up his cum for his scene the next morning. And then he has to reload on protein and have enough to be able to have a good shot the next day.
Hashtag porn star problems.
Lieutenant, you're still sure about your CO being fine with this? Okay, that's fine. Let's keep going.
I'm sure I'll get a call later.
All right, so here's the thing. This is an incredible story. An incredible story of sex positivity. That's what I'm saying. Personally, I don't know in your situation that I would have done the same thing, but he wanted to get married to you. How long had he known you when he wanted to get married to you?
I mean, we've known each other for like 2 years.
Okay.
But we dated from 4th of July to the 14th. So 10 days. We dated for 10
We
days.
dated for 10 days, and then this guy, this male porn star who works for Brazzers, proposed marriage to Jesse Preston. Right?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying I just want to get the story straight because this is long form content and we don't want to put anything in.
Are you trying to say that I'm not worth proposing to?
You are absolutely worth proposing
Okay,
to.
then.
You are. Come on, Jesse.
I had a hint of-
Jesse, there is no one. There is no one worthy of you. You're like my sister. There is no one worthy of Jesse. There's no one good enough for
That's
Jesse.
That's why I'm
Preston.
going to die alone
Huh? That exactly.
with a lot of cats and dogs.
I'm gonna die with 8 cats for sure. So you've on your 18 and your F-18. You guys call it a Rhino or a Prowl, or what do you guys call it?
The original F-18 was the Hornet, and then the F-18 EF is the Super Hornet, but because those sound so similar over the radio, they started calling it the Rhino. Because when you land at the carrier, arresting cables are what pull you to the stop, but those arresting cables have to be adjusted based off the weight of the aircraft. And the Super Hornet is much larger than a traditional Hornet. So they start calling it the Rhino.
So just can you explain that part to Jesse? Because this is the most fascinating part about your job. So as a Marine Corps or Navy pilot, he takes off and lands off an aircraft carrier. Air Force pilots do not take off or land on aircraft carriers. We land at Air Force bases. Can you explain what that whole situation is like with the cable and the takeoff and everything?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess starting with the takeoff on an aircraft carrier, obviously it's not that large. I mean, it's huge when you're standing next to it and looking up at it. But as far as a landing environment, it's very small. There's not enough runway to just slam on the brakes and stop or get enough takeoff roll to take off. So what happens, like if you've seen the movie Top Gun, at the very beginning, the very first scene, they're taxiing the aircraft. It connects to a catapult, a steam catapult, or new ones are now electromagnetic catapults. But that catapult launches you forward to assist you in getting up to a flyable airspeed by the end of the ramp. So you'll go from zero to...
Are you full throttle when you're in the catapult?
Traditionally, the old aircraft, they would be full afterburner. Now it's all calculated based off your weight.
Yes.
So if you're taking off lighter, you may only need to be at basically military power, which is kind of your max power before afterburner. And then afterburner is where we just spray a crap ton of fuel into the very end of the engine.
It becomes extremely inefficient, but you go a little bit faster.
But you're really fast.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Okay. So now the thing catapults you off, and the catapult, the pressure for the catapult changes based on the weight of the aircraft. Is that correct?
They're going to check your weight before every cat shot.
Now, that's not the thing that fascinates me. It's the landing. When you land, you get caught also. But what you told me, when you land and you get caught, what do you have to just go ahead and describe it? Yeah, you have to get caught.
Yeah.
So you land on a short runway on the aircraft carrier. So go ahead and explain the process.
Yeah, so basically landing on an aircraft carrier, same thing. They're going to know your weight because you're going to report your fuel state, and based off your aircraft type and your fuel weight, they're going to set a weight setting for anywhere from 3 to 5 different cables that are, steel cables that are running across the aft section of the aircraft carrier. And then you have a hook that extends down from the back of the aircraft, and depending on the weight setting and everything, and then landing on the ship, that hook is going to trap a cable, and that cable will pull you to a stop. But anytime you land, you're still keeping the throttles all the way up in case that hook skips over, or in case you miss the cables. You still have fully spooled up engines to immediately get airborne and not go into the
What's
water.
the percentage of fails on that? Like, how many accidents have
You've never had one, right? You've never had a hook skip, right?
Hook skips happen all the time.
Yeah.
That's actually not very uncommon at all. I mean, if you just, you could land in the midst of all the cables just perfectly, but the hook just bounces over.
So then what happens?
Then you just go around. So as long as you're at, close to mill power.
Are you at mill power on descent? Because when we land, we go almost to idle right before, and then we pull the nose up, and then we. So what?
There's
right
no
right before you touch the ground, you're still at full speed.
You're not at mill power as you touch the ground. You're at a reduced power setting. But like one of the cardinal sins of tailhook aviation is that when you land, do not go idle on the power.
Travis,
because
do you hear what he's saying? He's at full. They land and go to full throttle when they get caught. So just imagine this. You're going. What speed are you guys landing at? We land
130 knots.
130 knots. They go 130 knots, get caught by a cable, stopped, and they're at full throttle. When they do that, they get a signal, and then they're able to pull the throttle back. Is that correct?
Because if you're at idle and your hook skips, there's a lag. It's like a turbocharger in a car. Like there's a turbo lag per se. And so if you don't have the engines already spooled up, you're not going to have the thrust available to get airborne before going in the water.
You will go right into the water.
Yeah. So if you're idle in the wires is what they'll call it, you are like done flying or sent home like that day, because that is like such a big no-no.
That's a cardinal sin, right? You're going idle in the wires. And also, you talked before about ejection. You can't do this more than like once or twice because it just fucks you up so bad.
I think 3 times is the limit, and each time you're permanently shorter by like half a centimeter.
How fast are you coming out of the canopy?
Oh, I don't even know.
It's like 2 rockets, almost like shotgun shells that like blast.
Yeah, it's like the initial stage is almost like a shotgun shell that shoots you out of the canopy before the rockets ignite.
And hopefully the canopy gets out of the way, and like with what happened with Goose where he broke his neck in Top Gun.
If the canopy doesn't get out of the way, and it's part of the height requirement, you can't be too tall for the aircraft. There are spikes that are above your head box, so that if the canopy doesn't go, that theoretically is going to punch through it. Although that'd be a terrible experience.
That would be
my
bad.
God.
Dude, the stories I've heard about ejections are horrible. The human body is not made to be ejected out of an aircraft going 400 or 500 knots.
So then why do we do it?
Because it's better than dying.
Yeah.
All right. So now here's the other thing. You let's say you go over the edge. The likelihood of survivability going 50, 60 knots off the edge of an aircraft carrier.
So it's a 0-0 seat, which means you can be at 0 altitude, 0 airspeed, or 0 VSI.
You go in the water.
Airspeed.
You go in the water with the jet.
If you pull the handle fast enough, you're theoretically going to get about 1 swing in the chute before you impact the ground.
So you're talking about ejecting going off the side. That is procedure?
Oh, but if you're going in the water, no, you're 0 chance survival.
You're going to die.
Yeah, you're going to die.
Why?
Because you're just going to drown. You're going to sink with the aircraft. So
You can't pull the canopy off when you get in the water?
Nope.
Because
you will be in there so fast, and you're gonna flip over.
Really?
And then now, even the second you're partially submerged, like you're not getting that canopy off.
Really?
If you're underwater, yeah, no way.
Because the pressure,
Water pressure, yep. But even if that, like you are strapped in, like there's no way in hell you're getting unstrapped from all the restraints that are.
I'm pulling out that. Yeah. I'm pulling out that.
Yeah, you either go with
that
the seat
P330. Pop, 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 pop.
Glass. Yeah.
I'm shooting through that glass. All right, so that's interesting. I've always wondered that. So the procedure is if you realize you're about to go off, you eject. You're going to eject going offset. Okay, you get 1 swing, you come down, and you break your legs. Hitting the runway.
It's commonly what happens if you eject on an aircraft carrier. You'll get 1 swing and shoot, hit the non-skid, probably shatter 2 of your femurs, and maybe walk again.
Look at Jesse's face.
I've never been so turned on in my entire life.
Really? Well, have you met my single friend Adam, Lieutenant Adam Butel? We got to have Pear on here also. Pear was in your unit.
Yeah, he's in my squadron.
Yeah, we'll definitely have Pear on here at some point. So you like the intellectual curiosity of the show?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to bring people on from different disciplines. Now, most of the shows I'm going to do just one guest at a time, but occasionally I'm going to. I am dying. The show I am waiting for is going to be the astrophysicist and Nicolette Shea at the same time. That's the one I really want. Like the world class.
We're not the one that he was excited for.
No.
Okay,
I'm excited.
fuck you
I'm
then.
definitely excited for you. I'm as excited for that as I am for you guys. But the thing is, I am looking forward to this. This was so awesome. There was something we were just talking about with you. So we transitioned when you dating a porn star and then you crashing on an aircraft.
Great transition.
You have a stencil of your name on one of the F-18s. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, what is that? Which one is that? Is that a Rhino? Is that a
Yeah, it's Super Hornet.
Super
Rhino.
Hornet?
Yep.
Okay, and it's got your name on it. It says Lieutenant Adam Butel, and you said you had hoard out to the Blue Angels or the
Yeah, so actually says Captain because it was painted while I was in the Marine Corps. But the Blue Angels just swapped. They switched. They're making a transition this season from the older Hornets to the newer Super Hornets, and we provided them a few of their jets. So it's down in Pensacola. If it's not, I imagine it's already painted. But
when you transferred over Marine Corps to Navy, you stayed 03.
correct.
So you went from a captain to a lieutenant, even though it's the same rank.
Yeah, same rank,
Very
different
confusing
names.
to people.
Yeah.
A captain in the Navy is an 06. A captain in the Air Force is an 03.
Navy has to be different. All the other services for officer ranks are pretty much the same.
Marine Corps captain is an 03. Army captain is an 03. Air Force captain is 03. Navy captain is an 06.
Yeah.
Very confusing. Yes. So yeah, that part is.
It's great being on a Navy base though and introducing yourself as a
Bro, you have
captain.
no idea. I've walked into
You get
Navy
so much
bases.
more
and
done.
I'm like, oh, it's Captain Sartain, and everybody jumps up, and I'm like, no, man, I'm an 03, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Panty dropper?
no. So this is, you know what? Look, we don't have much time left, but I do want to talk about this. How little people gave a shit about me being a flyer. Have you had this? Like, I don't find it to be that impressive. I feel like in the 1940s. You know, if you did this, people were like very impressed by the fact that you were a fighter pilot.
Very, very binary. It's either amazingly impressed or not at all.
Yeah,
or just no clue.
It just no like. I used to go to dinner sometimes in my flight suit because I would just leave base and I would go out to dinner in Dallas in my Nomex flight suit, and people would look at me like I was a mechanic. I literally had captain's bars on, and you could see my wings. They thought I was a mechanic.
I think it's ignorance.
Well, yeah, of course, because you don't see people in flight suits. Although you might have seen this back in the 40s and 50s, you don't see it now. What has been your impression? I'm sure from a resume standpoint, it's probably the greatest thing that I've ever seen. But what do you think about in general when you explain to like a girl you meet that you want to date? I'm an F-18. I'm a fighter pilot.
Yeah, it requires a lot of explanation, and you try not to go too into the weeds. I'm more or less just hoping the new movie Top Gun 2
helps you,
just solves that, so I don't have to do it
Travis,
anymore.
you hear this? Top Gun 2 is going to get him laid. That is the thing.
I didn't have
say
him
that.
on afterwards, so we
I
can
didn't say
verify
that.
We
that.
can talk about that again.
That is not what he said.
You're
but
CEO.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
what
to
he's
the movie
alluding to.
in White's uniform. That's my plan, and then go to the strip club. I've got it all worked out.
You're gonna wear your whites.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah, that's really.
I'm sure that'll go over great.
Anything else, Jesse? You want to ask Lieutenant Butel?
No, I think that it's really cool that you guys both have that kind of in common.
Yeah.
And to listen to your banter back and forth, even though like half of it's lost on me, I'm like, okay.
Well, hey, man.
That's interesting.
Here's the thing. This is the point of the show. If you don't understand something, it's okay to ask. Nobody sounds dumb for asking questions. It doesn't matter. 99% of the population does not know what an F-18 does or how it fights or the difference between an F-15, an F-16, an F-22, an F-35, F-117. 99% of the population doesn't know this. So your questions are totally normal. I happen to be former military.
I learned something new.
Exactly.
It has to be cold, dry, and low altitude.
It's easier
Nailed
to
it.
take off in cold, dry, low altitude. Correct, because you have more oxygen molecules. So that's our first thermodynamics lesson, our first aviation lesson. Do you have any questions for Jesse?
No, I'm sure I would, but on the
It's
spot.
2:27. You know, she might be free later. That's what I'm saying. If you
Oh
have
my
if you have any questions for Jesse, I heard she's recently single, and
What's your Instagram?
At Jesse Preston X.
Jesse Preston X. Let me ask you this: as a military member, having an Instagram. So Instagram had just started when I got out in 2011. Oh no, actually, no, I got out. There was no Instagram. I was still just on Facebook. As a military member, how has Instagram? What have you been told to do or not do? How has Instagram affected you career-wise?
There's probably a CBT on that one as well somewhere. I do know, starting off in like infantry training in the Marine Corps, like day one, if you had anything on your Facebook that they would use against, they
Yes.
would pull it up, shame you in front of the entire room, And so you learn your lesson very, very
So
quick.
they did this in Facebook. My survival school, we did our SEER school at Spokane, Washington.
thing, yep.
Okay, so here's Travis, get ready. This is what we did.
All right.
They would go on my Facebook, and they found out that I managed a strip club because that's what I did right before I joined the military. And bro, let me tell you something. I'm in survival school. They have got me trapped in a box. They're beating the shit out of me. Right, I have not slept in 2 or 3 days.
Fire
they come out
hose.
there, and the fire hose. They fucking do all this torturous shit to you, and it's not torturous, but it's torturous. They couldn't waterboard us. I think they could waterboard Marine Corps guys. They could waterboard you guys.
confirm or deny.
Cannot confirm or deny. And then the guy, he gets really nice. Oh, having a good time? Good to see you here, OT Sartain. Really happy to have you here. We learned some interesting things about you, and starts opening up this book and showing pictures from my Facebook of me with these girls, bro. It is the most invasive, terrifying. Remember, you haven't slept in several days. You haven't eaten in a long time.
Put it out there.
You got to shit. You got to shit in a can that is in a room. Oh my God, girl! Air Force Survival School will beat the crap out of you. I'm not trying to be so specific. I will say they make you not happy. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say how it ends, but when you go to SEER school, they put it on you, and then you at the end of it, there's a guy. He's like telling you all these things about yourself. It's like, oh, Captain Sartain. Well, I wasn't a captain by there, but Lieutenant Sartain. These are interesting things. Like, you like working at the titty club. Like he said something like that.
Creepy like that?
Yes, bro. They talk
He
creepy.
whispered it in your ear all
Bro, they're
creepy?
trying to have accents and the full gambit.
Oh my God. And the noises. So you can't sleep because they're playing these noises and you're like, rah, rah, like squeaking to squealing noises, shit like that. So that whole thing happened to me also but I taught a course, to some of the guys in my squadron. And one of the things that we had was, man, these dudes were like, oh, I'm going on an deployment next week. And I'm like, bro, you're about to get your house robbed next week because everybody knows you're on deployment for 6 months. Yep. I was like, stop posting that you're going on deployment. And then the other thing is the boom operators would take pictures of the receiver over Iraq, and you could see the fucking tail flash. Like, you literally, not only did I know what unit they were from, I knew the exact aircraft. Not only that, I knew who was flying the fucking aircraft. There were times where the photographs were so good, I could tell you who the fucking pilot was. It was crazy. And we were prosecuting a war with another country, and at the same time taking pictures of our own aircraft.
Smile for the gram.
And posting it on Facebook. And I was like, guys, we've got to stop taking pictures of tail flashes for our aircraft and all this kind of
Content.
stuff. It was crazy. Exactly. Content. So really crazy stuff. I'm sure the stuff I said about SEER school is going to get me in trouble. I don't really care. It's fine. It's whatever. None of it happened. I made it all up.
Given or none.
I made it all up.
Deplatformed.
I made it all up. None of that stuff happened. Maybe. Listen, it's not a big secret. You can look it up on Google. SEER school is not a fun place. After SEER school, there were a bunch of us who said if we knew we had to do this, we wouldn't have joined the military. It sucks. They turned the suck all the way up. What was it?
Survive, evade, resist, escape.
Yeah, but you're a Marine. You guys didn't have to evade.
We did the same thing.
Oh, you did? Oh, because you're a flyer.
Anyone that flies, or if you're like special operator, or anyone that could be caught behind enemy lines, that's what the training is for. So,
Did you go to Spokane?
mine was actually in California, not too far from San Diego. So
Okay.
Navy does California, and I think it's Connecticut. And maybe
They hit you with the fire hose and broke some fingers?
Can't comment.
Can't comment?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Maybe.
Nice. All right, guys, we have gone way over, and I'm so excited to start this off this way. Intellectual curiosity. I am so honored that the two of you came on here. We hopefully we're going to be doing this for many years. If you appreciated this show, make sure you follow. I keep looking at myself. If you appreciated this show, make sure you guys follow, subscribe. You're going to see this on YouTube. You're going to see this on Spotify. You're going to see this on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. Please comment. Please like. Please leave a rating. Please let me know what you think. If you like it on audio version, if you like it on video version, please let me know. And let me tell you something else. Let me encourage you to do something else. Listen at double speed. Listen at double speed. Well, this is something. This is the tip of the day. One of the things that you guys are probably like, man, how does Michael remember all these incredible facts from all these books? I listen at double and triple speed. I train myself to listen and watch things at double and triple speed. And because I'm able to do that, when I'm in the gym, I can get through a 2-hour book, through a 1-hour workout, and it's incredible. So I would encourage you guys to try 1.2 speed, 1.5 speed, and see if you can listen to some of the stuff that we talk about a little bit faster. We're definitely going to have Jesse on again. Hopefully, maybe later on in the winter, we're going to have Adam on again. Thank you so much, Travis, for helping us do this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
And thank you. Oh, what do you have to get out of here for?
I got a pussy appointment. I got to get out of here. I need to get pussy.
And we're done. Good night, guys.